FanDuel has also come out with odds to win the SEC this upcoming year. And this is a little bit different ball game than looking at the Big Ten. Because in the Big Ten, I look at Ohio State, I look at Oregon, 10 out of 10. I dropped my phone. The iJosh is a casualty. It's on the ground now. I've got no doubt that Ohio State and Oregon can win the Big Ten. I did not look anywhere in the odds to win the SEC and immediately say, give me a 10 on that team. Now, I got a couple of 9.5s. Texas and Georgia are 9.5s on the confidence meter that they can win the conference. I'll probably get no pushback on rating Georgia 9.5. I will get some pushback on rating Texas 9.5 because there is a not so small contingent of the college football public that believes something is impossible until it's done. So Texas hasn't done it, and therefore it's impossible for Texas to do it. You cannot rate them the same as Georgia. Well, I can because I think they may have the best roster in the league. It has to get done this year. There's just immense pressure on Sark. And so you'd have to explain your logic on Texas. I don't have to explain believing in Kirby Smart or Georgia, but they both return quarterbacks. They have attrition. They always will, but they got a good nucleus of a roster coming back. Virtually the entire staff at Georgia returns. I would say maybe staff upgrades a little bit at Texas. So they're good. They're 9.5s on the confidence meter. The bigger debate internally when we were looking at the conference odds is, okay, when we get beyond Texas and Georgia, how do we handle these other teams? LSU, for example. I put LSU at an 8 on the confidence meter to be able to win the SEC. Remember, this is not if they get there, what are the odds? What's the confidence level? Well, of course, if they're in Atlanta, it's a 10 that they could win it all. But I've got to look at this thing from spring. I've got to understand, or I've got to at least have a good educated guess on how good Sam Leavitt can be this year. Coming off injury, didn't have his fastball last year, figuratively or literally. But is that just all washed away? Is the memory of that wiped clean when I see him with this supporting cast and Lane Kiffin as his head coach? Maybe so. Maybe so. That's why it's all the way up there at an 8. The talent roster certainly is there to compete for and win a conference title. It's got to come together. It's no different than going crazy at the grocery store and getting all the ingredients and groceries you could ever need, and then you come home and the bags are like hooked around your fingers, and then you unload them on the countertop, and you get the feeling back in your fingers, and then voila, there it is. There's your meal. No, actually, it's nothing but ingredients and groceries on the countertop. You've still got to do the right thing with them, which is no small task for some of us. So Lane Kiffin's got to do the thing with them. Could be taken out of context in many different ways down the road. People clip the show for all sorts of different purpose, plural of purpose. The wide receiver room. Is that thing going to pan out the way it needs to be? Blake Baker may be able to win them games. American hero, defensive coordinator at LSU, Blake Baker. So, yeah, I don't doubt that. If they need to win 16-10, they may be able to do that. I put an 8 on LSU with hopes that I can revisit that before Halloween. Texas A&M, hey, do me one favor right here. Look down. Are you subscribed to the channel? If you are, thank you. If you're not, please click subscribe. It helps us keep the show free and free of corporate interference. All right, that's it for me. Back to the clip. Was just a little bit down to me from LSU. I put him at a 7.5 because of the volatility of the offense. First off, there's a lot of churn on this offensive line. Secondly, even if the offensive line is as good or better than it was last year, and that's certainly not a given, then I've got the whole Marcel Reed of it all, and I've got knowing what his ceiling is, knowing what his floor is, knowing that I saw his floor too much late in the season, bunch of multi-interception games. I've just got to trust Mike Elko on replacing these players, though. I've got to trust that the Mike Elko evaluation and development has to come through. If you're listening on podcast, I have my eyes closed. That's me hoping. That's me praying that it works out there. Because if the rest of it works out and it just falls on quarterback, well, then the other thing that's going to get talked about during the season is he promoted from within both coordinator positions. So you're talking to a guy who's got a lot of trust in Mike Elko's eye for talent, both roster and staff. But I can still doubt a little bit because I don't have my hands on it day to day. So I put a 7.5 on my confidence that A&M can do it. I put a 7 on Alabama. So Alabama just a little notch slightly below that of Texas A&M when it comes to my confidence, only because they couldn't run the ball to save their lives last year. And now they're overhauling their offensive line, complete with a new offensive line coach. They will also start a new quarterback. And there is a world where Alabama's a better team than they were last year. There certainly is. They got a lot of really good players there. We just don't know much about them, including at the quarterback position, including at the offensive line spots, because we really haven't seen, in most cases, we haven't seen them at all. In many more cases, we haven't seen much of them at all. So it also is the level of play in their defensive front there that it needs to be over the course of a year. You lose guys like James Smith and Quay Russaw to Ohio State. And you can tell me all you want to, those aren't big losses. I know what depth means at this level. Those are losses. They 100%, I don't even care if they weren't going to start for you, and they may have, but I don't even care if they weren't going to start. I can promise you if they are integral role players at Ohio State, they would have been at Alabama. So I think along those lines, and if all those questions get answered, Bama would be a 10. But they're still questions because it's spring, so they are a 7. The next bucket was sort of the 6 or slightly less crowd. I put Oklahoma in this group. I put Ole Miss in this group. I put Tennessee in this group. Admittedly, if you tell me Trinidad Chambliss is starting for Ole Miss, so he makes it out of spring practice and summer workouts and the courtroom, and he is on the field for fall camp, yeah, I'd have Ole Miss higher than a 6. But I've got to bake all of what we know into the equation right now. Tennessee, I said the other day, kind of feels like they'd be a year away, but who knows, maybe they're just a year ahead of schedule. And Oklahoma, again, running the ball, again, needing to level up on offensive line, making sure John Mateer is 100%, and then what does it mean for John Mateer to be 100%? How much fall off is there defensively? We don't expect a ton, but maybe a little bit. But in the aggregate, is that a better team than they were last year? Who knows? And then Florida, like Missouri, Auburn, South Carolina, I couldn't go higher than a 2. Too many questions. So 2 is not 0, but 2 is pretty low. The vibes right now in the Pate State store are that we're open and you can come and you can basically purchase anything you want to. PateStateMaterial.com right now is there. It's on the World Wide Web. Most of you have access to it if you're watching this show. A lot of you are still in cold weather season. Many, many more of you are in short sleeve weather. It doesn't matter because we got something for everyone there. PateStateMaterial.com, new designs up. If you bought something like, September of last year, you may want to pay another visit because there's a lot of stuff there that you didn't see in the fall. Just a little quick infomercial.